Japan has an interesting variety of buildings that exhibit different architectural forms. Due to the country's location on the Pacific and Eurasian tectonic plates, it is prone to earthquakes. This caused many of its buildings to be lower in height than those of major economic centers of its size. Early native designs were exposed to strong influences from the Asian mainland. Imported styles were subsequently adapted to suit local tastes. Buildings were traditionally built with wood, due in part to the abundance of timber and the material's relatively good resistance to earthquakes. Unfortunately, many of such buildings were lost through the years to natural disasters. Efforts have been made to preserve some monumental buildings, of which many are very old and require periodic renovations. Efforts are currently ongoing across the country to reconstruct and maintain buildings of cultural significance. Many of such structures, exhibiting past architectural styles, are nowadays popular tourist sites.
足の親指をまず親指を重ねます。
First, you cross your toes.
で、その上に静かにお尻をこう乗せます。
And you place your bottom very slowly on these closed toes.
ドシンとこの上にお尻が乗っちゃうとしびれるんですね。だからこう少し合わせて、はい。
The technique would be that your toes have to be crossed, and otherwise probably your legs will go numb. But as long as they are closed, it should be okay.
Architectural styles have evolved from prehistoric to modern times. One who resides in a fully built concrete house, just like this one, is considered a very affluent person in Japan.
Welcome to Japan, welcome to Tokyo, welcome to my house, welcome to paradise. はるばる遠いところから海を越えていらっしゃった。何にもないけどおもてなし、遠慮はいらないよ。ガーナといえばチョコレート、グーチョキパーでチョコレート、チョコパン、チョコパフェ、チョコケーキ、毎日ちょこちょこ食べてます。お互い遠い国だけどこうして知り合えた。これも何かの縁でしょう。これからもよろしく。えおえおえおえおえおえおえおえおえおえおGhana, Ghana, 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 Japan, 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 Japan.
Today, Tokyo is not only a thriving political and economic center of Japan and one of the most popular cities in the world, but has also emerged as a center of the world economy and culture. With a height of 333 meters, thus 13 meters taller than the Eiffel Tower, the Tokyo Tower was once the major and tallest landmark in Japan. Upon completion in 1958, it symbolized the rebirth of Japan as a post-war economic power. Completed in 2012, the Tokyo Sky Tree, a lattice tower that rises 634 meters, thus 2,080 feet, stands as the tallest structure in Japan today. The tallest tower in the world at the time of its completion and the second tallest freestanding structure in the world. The Sky Tree has the two highest observation decks. The spacious 350-meter high lower deck features wide windows, a restaurant, cafe, and shops. A beautiful aquarium and shopping mall are found at the base of the tower. The Tokyo Sky Tree, just like the Tokyo Tower, is used as a transmitting station or as a radio or television broadcast and communications tower. There are a number of attractions in Tokyo that should not be missed. There are large-scale downtown areas, including Ginza, where famous shops from around the world stand side by side.
Okay, so we are in Ginza, one of the busiest places in Japan, Tokyo. And it is a place where it's a meeting point for the elite in Tokyo. Even before World War II, this place, Ginza, as the name goes, meant silver. Silver because it was a place where they exchanged money. And over time, it has become one of the prettiest places in Japan. It is a place where tradition and modernity comes to play because there are a number of stores where you can get high quality products at a lower price. Here is Ginza, the beauty of Japan.
The modern-day city boasts of more high-rise buildings than just about any other city in Asia, possibly even the world. The incredible panoramic views that these buildings afford were not lost on the designers, and several of these structures incorporate observation decks that are open to the public. Engineering is a key feature of Tokyo's skyscrapers, taking precedence over height and beauty. A recent trend has seen numerous super high-rise residential towers erected, and this looks set to increase as land becomes ever more scarce and engineering ever more advanced. Since the late 1950s, high-rise buildings and towers have sprung up across the city. Though an earthquake-prone zone, this did not deter Japan from building skyscrapers. A quick drive through town and one cannot help but view artistic complexes till you arrive at your destination. To the Japanese, the way of life of a people is not only hinged on their beliefs, but also what they wear. And for them, the kimono is their pride. It is a full-length traditional Japanese garment associated with politeness and good manners, hence one for important festivals or formal occasions. Kimonos are traditionally made from a single bolt of fabric called a tan. There are two types, the traditional and the modernized ones. Traditionally, kimonos are sewn by hand. Even machine-made kimonos require substantial hand stitching. Kimonos range from extremely formal to casual. Those made of fabrics such as cotton and polyester generally reflect a more casual style. Young women's kimonos, for instance, have longer sleeves, signifying that they are not married and tend to be more elaborate, whereas that of men are usually one basic shape and are mainly worn in subdued colors. The level of formality of women's kimono is determined mostly by the pattern of the fabric and color. Over time, there have been many variations in color, fabric, and style. Like many other traditional Japanese garments, there are specific ways to fold them. These methods help to preserve the garment and to keep it from creasing when stored.
日本の暦では区別がなされています。
To prevent the kimono from getting damaged from humidity, we especially use this type of chest in Japan. Each season there is a certain custom, and so from July through August, during the summertime, we wear a see-through type kimono with no back fabric, and in September, it's not see-through without any fabric underneath. We associate certain colors with certain seasons.
秋を表す色は白です。
Actually, it is white that symbolizes autumn in Japan.
春を表す色は青。
And in spring, the color is blue.
夏が朱色。
And in summertime, it's bright red.
Many modern Japanese women lack the skill to put on a kimono unaided. A typical women's kimono consists of 12 or more separate pieces that are worn, matched, and secured in prescribed ways, and the assistance of a licensed professional kimono dresser may be required, which can take 30 to 45 minutes. Choosing an appropriate type of kimono requires knowledge of the garment's symbolism and subtle social messages reflecting the woman's age, marital status, and the level of formality of the occasion. It is said that a person's occupation can easily be identified when the kimono is worn appropriately. Wrapping the apparel around one's body also comes with some basic rules.
The modern patterned kimono and the traditional, I would say, kimono are quite different. In the case of modern kimono, I think that people wear kimono to present their own personality. It is as if they were wearing dresses. But when it comes to traditional patterned kimono like the one that you are wearing now, it actually symbolizes the Japanese culture and Japanese tradition. There is a rule, and always the left will be over right, the way that I tie the knot. And
すべて左
the
が上なん
left
ですね。
is over right.
ですので、
Is there a reason for the left being over the
で
right?
その理由っていうのはあるんですか？
日本では
In Japan, when right is over left, which means you are dead. So only for the dead body, that when we put on the kimono on the dead body, we do that. But since you are still alive, of course, so you have to wear it like that way, left over right.
We've been to many temples and shrines, but this is the first time we are going to a shrine where I am to wear a kimono. What is so special about this particular shrine, and why do you need to put on a kimono before you enter that shrine?
着ないといけないわけでは宗教上の
You
理
can
由では
visit
な
the
く
shrine
て
even without kimono. The reason that it's more proper for you to wear kimono it doesn't come from any religious reasons. But this Tsurugaoka Hachimanju, the shrines have certain grades, I would say. And the Tsurugaoka shrine is a very high grade shrine, and people visit the shrine mainly for formal occasions like wedding receptions or wedding itself, or when children turn 3, 5, and 7, parents take children to the shrine to pray for their happiness and prosperity. So it is you don't have to wear it, but if you visit the shrine in such a formal attire, you can show your respect to the shrine.
For brides, a traditional wedding kimono comes along with the chunuka kushi, a wedding headpiece.
How is it? You can't see it yourself, but
Having operated this cart for over 35 years, this coachman offered to give me a ride. Known as the rickshaw ride in Kamakura, I was driven through the beautiful streets of the ancient Japanese capital. kimono in Japan, just like wearing the kente or the fugu in Ghana is a royal apparel. You cannot come to Japan without being in this kimono, and it is an expensive attire used for very important occasions. And this cut especially prepared for people who are going for a wedding ceremony or any other important event. Okay. Sir. Kamakura is a seaside Japanese town just south of Tokyo and the political center of medieval Japan. Today, Kamakura is recognized as one of the modern and prominent resort towns, which has dozens of Buddhist, Zen, and Shinto shrines. Its recognizable landmark is the Kotoku-in Temple's Great Buddha, also known as Daibachu, a 13-meter high bronze statue that has stood the test of time even after a 15th century tsunami. It is reported that former President of the United States of America, Barack Hussein Obama, once visited this temple. It is a designated national treasure and one of the 21 historic sites included in Kamakura's proposal for inclusion in UNESCO's World Heritage Sites. The visiting public are usually advised to refrain from eating while walking, as this can inconvenience other temple visitors, and also purify themselves before getting any closer. In the yard is Japan's tallest bronze statue, which was originally located inside a large temple hall. Although statues of this magnitude are kept inside designated buildings, this one has since been exposed due to the disasters that destroyed the hall around it. Visitors are not allowed to eat and drink in front of the Great Buddha or near the pedestal, and take close-up images of the statue. One can also find the Hachimangu Shrine, one of the most important Shinto shrines in the city of Kamakura. Strategically located at the cultural center of the city, it is the only shrine where wedding ceremonies are held. Within its grounds stand two museums, the Kamakura Museum of National Treasures and the Prefectural Museum of Modern Art. To know more about the beautiful blend between tradition and modernity, we visited the studio manned by one of Japan's finest creative minds who produces novel and unconventional designs. Here, one can find very simple yet arresting designs of modern-day kimono. Hiroko Takahashi is one of the most sought-after Japanese textile designers whose works are widely patronized not only in Japan but in other parts of Europe. Patterns consisting only of circles and straight lines are the hallmark of her designs. She became well known when she started designing modern-style kimono. She now also creates a wide range of accessories.
I am intrigued by the way that we make kimono because we don't have to waste any materials. So I'm inspired by this, and then I try to create using a minimum amount of materials and also using patterns and colors, but within a limited or minimum amount of materials, and mainly by using circles and lines as motif. And my message that I would like to convey is that by just using minimal amount of materials, then we can still have a very happy and satisfactory or gratifying life. In Japan, we have a wealth of Japanese traditional skills and techniques. We have craftsmen, and they are rich in these skills or techniques. Usually, these traditional Japanese craftswork are done by hands, manually, which means that in one way we appreciate the remnants or the marks left by these craftsmen. For instance, in my case, if I try to do everything manually, especially when I use the circles and lines as my main motif, in terms of the shapes, I may end up having some distortions if everything is done by hand. And so in one way, it's okay for us to appreciate the marks left by this manual or handiwork. But at the same time, sometimes the marks are left because of lack of skills. And therefore, it is very difficult or challenging for us to actually look at correctly as to the reason behind the marks left as a result of this artwork. So we always have to look at the true nature of what is behind the piece of work, and that is always challenging as well.
Asked whether she feels threatened since the industry is a male-dominated one, this is what she had to say.
確かに一緒に仕事をして
I often work with craftsmen or the presidents of manufacturers, and most of them are usually men. I have two young brothers. I grew up with them, and I enjoyed playing soccer or judo, or enjoyed riding a bike. So I didn't actually feel like I was a girl or I was a woman. I didn't have to develop that kind of consciousness personally. But occasionally, especially at the beginning, because being a woman felt like sometimes I was looked down on, like when I made a phone call, and sometimes that they just cut my phone call because I was a woman. There's also, I think, a benefit of being a woman. Sometimes people are gentle to me, but generally speaking, I didn't really have to feel the difference between men and women, or I didn't have to feel threatened only because I am a woman.
Upon completion of a master's in fine arts, she started work as a designer in an apparel company in 2002, but enrolled in the Tokyo University of Fine Arts for her PhD in 2003 to better her lot. According to her, she was taught some traditional art, and that is where she encountered kimono and decided to promote it. Her works caught the attention of many, including the then French Association for Artistic Action and an iconic fashion European investor, Fendi, who decided to collaborate with her to produce other accompaniments aside the kimono.
Ghana ですかね。はい。
アフリカンプリントって着るんですかね。
I find it very intriguing. If I have a chance to collaborate with somebody from Africa, and then if I can collaborate with them using their traditional techniques or skills, if I can create something with them, I think I would be happy doing that.
Wow. That's great. Thank you so much. So there you have it, Miss Hiroko, with her inspiration, and she hopes to collaborate with some African designers. And particularly for us in Ghana, it is not just about what you eat and the language you speak. Our culture goes beyond, and it also borders on what we wear, and the African prints, the Ghanaian prints, also speaks volumes of who we are, and so is the Japanese. Miss Hiroko here is a Japanese entrepreneur, and she is also transforming and giving out her best as a Japanese young entrepreneur, using her beautifully designed kimono to tell what Japan represents and who they are in terms of culture and tradition. And that is the beauty of Japan.
And for them, the past is as relevant as the present, as well as the future. Hence, the need to preserve it for generations yet unborn.